My mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action, I'm ready to go.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. We are very delighted about today's show. This is a very important topic in our community, building strong communities. And so, as I like to think about it, is individuals who help to control their communities and help their communities to run well are always concentrating on the education, the entertainment, or which I like to call edutainment. We do educate through entertainment, and the economics of our community. So we're gonna get right into it. The time flies real fast, and we don't wanna not be able to capture all the information we want to get out today. So we have a very, very exciting panel today. Some individuals in our community have been out here for years in the struggle. So, I just want to give them an opportunity to introduce the panelists. We're going to go around. We'll give them about 2 minutes to just kind of tell a little bit about themselves and their background, and then we'll get right into our discussion. So our first panelist, a good friend and a colleague, and been in the struggle for years with me and all my NAACP colleagues. We have our Madam President of the Greater New Haven NAACP, Ms. Doris Dumas.
Good morning. Hello. What a pleasure it is to be on this panel with these dynamic, phenomenal queens, as well as our two male hosts. I think it's really important. And as you said, Mo, we've been in this struggle and we kind of came into this NAACP together. Can you hear me? Together. So part of, back in 1999 when we got started. So I should say, I've been a part of the NAACP almost my entire adult life. With that, we had Roger Van and others back in the 90s who were leading as young men, who were bringing to the forefront how important it was that young people get involved with the NAACP. And so Donald McCauley and the rest of them, I became a member, but I got active in 1999. You and I came in together under Scott X. Esdale, and I've been working with the NAACP ever since in a leadership role. Became president, the first female president in our history since, it began in 2014. I became the president. But for the entire time, and even before our time, and when the NAACP started, economic equity in general, diversity, equality, moving things forward, working against discrimination and racism, which has been a big part of the fabric of our country, is the fight of the NAACP. So I have carried that torch, and it's extremely important that we understand how important economic equity, access, and opportunity is in our community. We know that for sure, when people in our community are employed, they have livable wages, they can take care of their families. We have had programs where we help with down payment assistance so people can buy homes and remove barriers, because we understand with the NAACP that there are so many barriers. People like to dismiss it. They don't want to really talk about facts and information. And there's a lot of things that are barriers in our community. And one of them is getting to good jobs, good paying jobs, good careers, not because of lack of trying, not because we're not smart, not because we're not educated, but a lot of times those doors are closed. So the NAACP job is to try to knock down those doors, remove those barriers, and even the playing field so that every person, Black, Brown, included, has the same opportunity to excel, take care of their families, to have good jobs, and to thrive. So that's our goal. We're a grassroots organization. We've been at this since 1909, and it's unfortunate that in 2021 we have that same fight. And yes, some people have gotten a little further along. Some people have gotten to positions, and we're proud of that, and we celebrate those wins. But when we only have a handful, don't act like we're really at the table. Don't act like it's even, because it's still so far. The gap is so wide. And so everything we can do to try to work with companies, cities, officials, people who are willing to employ people in our communities that look like us to advance our community. That's what we're about, advancement. And we want that same opportunity. So that's our work. I've been doing it. I'm proud to do it. It's not easy work. It's hard work, actually, but it's so necessary. I get it. The people who are a part of the NAACP, we get that we have a battle. It's a struggle. It's a fight, but we're in this thing, and we're trying to make sure that Black and brown people have the same opportunity. So thank you.
Very well said. Very well said, Doris. But I would just like to take a moment, if I can, to introduce this next panelist. I met her, believe it or not, probably in the early, around 2012, 2011, somewhere in that area. You might not remember, but I remember her all the times. I remember her voice. I remember how she stands out and willing to speak ahead and not be afraid to say exactly what it is. And now she's in a position to really take us to a different level, a different place. And we're so proud to have her in the position that she's currently in with the state. I love her very dearly. I know many people feel exactly the way that I do about her. So I'm just going to let her speak for herself because I can talk all day about her. I'm going to give you our representative and Ms. Robin Porter. Go ahead, tell us all about it.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction, Bernard. I love you as much, if not more. I am State Representative Robin Porter. I represent the 94th District of Hamden and New Haven. I am the chair of the Labor and Public Employees Committee, and I am also a member of the Appropriations and Judiciary Committee. And I've been doing this work for about 7.5 years. And I have to tell you, the first thing I want to do is just say thank you for the honor of being in the presence of these wonderfully phenomenal women. Dory, Dory hits the ground running. I mean, like the work I do, the circles I run in, me and Dory are always running into each other because she is hands on the plow. She is out there grinding and representing unapologetically for the people that look like us, Black people. And Jackie, Lord have mercy. Yeah, you got some powerful players here, and what Jackie is doing right now, what she's done in the past, really does help to bring a collective effort to moving us forward with what Dory was talking about around what I call real equity, which is economic justice. I've done some good stuff this year. It was a little challenging because of the pandemic, but we were able to get some really great stuff done at the state level. One of the things that I know everyone here recognizes as my first big win this year was actually a carryover from last year with the Crown Act, which prohibits, workplace discrimination based on hairstyle. Goes without saying that, Black women catch hell because of the way we choose to show up authentically. And many of us, especially from our generation, was taught, there was a proper way to wear your hair. You couldn't have natural hair. You needed to press and curl it, or you needed to get a perm. You had to pull it back in a bun or a ponytail. So this was a very liberating accomplishment for me this year because it really touched home for me in setting our young people free. They are so much more expressive and liberated and, just all around different than we were growing up. And I think that the Crown Act has actually paved the way for them to show up and own, their authentic selves. And I can't even begin to express now, it's really coming to my attention, how many women, period, youth on to the elders are actually wearing their natural coils. So that's exciting. We did a worker recall right bill, which actually said that during the pandemic, if you got laid off because of the pandemic, when your employer started to hire back, that he needed to hire in the order of seniority, that you needed to be offered that job. And we found that to be important because you got folks that have been working 10, 15, 20 years on a job, you know, and they get let go. And of course, when you start to rehire, you want to hire new hires that you can bring in at minimum wage instead of honoring the people that actually allowed you the profit that a lot of these corporations have experienced during the pandemic. We've done some really great work around minimum wage and paid family medical leave. And paid family medical leave is going to actually go into effect January 1, 2022. Very excited about that, up to 12 weeks that people will be able to take off, you know, with pay to take care of themselves, their family members, military family that's been injured, you know, in the military, or an organ donor that goes in to donate an organ. And this means a lot because people have had to choose between, you know, going to work sick or staying home and not getting paid. So it makes a big difference because it all comes back to that economic justice and equity that we talk about. And then the other thing that I think is really important that we did was we expanded the workers' comp benefit for PTSD to cover emergency responders, correction workers, and dispatchers and healthcare providers. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. We did a lot of good stuff around criminal justice, appropriations. We got some good funding back to the city. But there are some things that I'm going to continue to work on that I wasn't able to get done. And that would be a fair work week. We have people going to work, working schedules that are absolutely crazy, that don't allow them to be fully present, you know, in their capacity as parents. There's the collateral consequences legislation that I'm working on to lessen the barriers for our returning citizens when they come home from prison. And then another thing that's kind of dear to me right now is the study around gig workers, because that's the direction we're headed in. And we need to take a real serious look at that. But that is what I do with my legislative hat. But I am a mother and a grandmother and a staunch community member. I have a love for my community, a passion for people. And this is how we all on this panel have connected. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. So thank you so much for having me this morning.
So we're so gracious to have the first two panelists that definitely spoke. Love you both. But I have to say, and I laugh because this next panelist make me want to work even harder as a Black male to get more involved and to actually take a stand for the very principles that our lives are built on in this community. I'm glad to I know the name, but I'm glad to see the face, that I can place the face with the name, because your name stands out in this community. And we're so proud to have you on this panel today to speak to the subject at hand. I can't go any further but allow you to speak for yourself and tell us just a little bit more than we already know. I give you Jackie Buster right here on WNHH 103.5 FM, Tom Ficklin Show. Amen. Let's roll with it, Jackie.
Good morning. And I think you got a trifecta this morning. I mean, listen, Doris speaks for herself, right? Her history, her commitment, and her passion for doing the work she's been doing for so long, that stands out to me. We don't see each other enough. We don't talk enough, not quite enough. And I think, if anything, a message I want to get out today is that we are stronger together. And that sounds so hokey, but it is so true. And Robin, we're neighbors. Robin is right down the street from me. And I've been watching Robin since she, as you said, alder to state rep, and, you know, and standing so focused. These two ladies came out 2 weeks ago to stand with me in Gigantic Studios in the community to voice their opinions and their support. And I so appreciate that, because it just shows that we're on the same path. We just have to link our arms together. We need to stay closer to each other. But I'm Jackie Buster. I am a resident of Dixville, Newhallville. I live on Ivy Street. Everybody knows that. I live there for a reason, a strong purpose. I grew up in the neighborhood, and I think a pivotal point for me was being in college. I went to Southern, like most of my friends, most of my lifelong friends, and Doris knows this, are the folks that I went to college with. Michael Jefferson, Kermit Carolina, Gary Highsmith, just to name a few. Donald McCauley was there. I mean, there was such a contingent of us, and we continue to stay together and to work together. But I took a class in college that talked about the destruction, was talking about Tulsa, talking about the destruction of Black communities across the country. And it looked at segregation and how segregation did a lot of good things for us, but it also tore our base, our economic base apart. As soon as people, and I can understand the sort of thinking behind this, the methodology, as soon as we got a chance to be at somebody else's table or pretended to be at somebody else's table, we forgot our own. And it meant that we were more happy to say that we were the only ones, the first ones, as if that was supposed to be special. It should have always been that way, right? Among ourselves, it was that way. And then we find ourselves starting almost all over again. And again, Tulsa, you know, there's so many situations in this, but I want to bring this up also. I'm a board member of the Greater New Haven Chamber, and yesterday they gave out for the first time the William Lanson Award. And William Lanson was a great man, built the New Haven Long Wharf, the Farmington Canal, Worcester Square, owned all of Worcester Square. They talked about all of the positive things about Mr. Lanson, but nobody mentioned that the community around him, the white community around him, destroyed his life, and that he ended up in an asylum, basically. He lost his health, lost his family, lost everything. Everything he built up, they took from him. So while we celebrate this new award from the chamber, and I have to say this, we have to tell the whole story, and we have to be responsible for doing that. But I will back up. We are here because we stand for the same things, right? Education, economic empowerment. We need to bring this wealth gap closer. Gigantic Studios stands for exactly that. People go, okay, you're a movie studio. We're not just a movie studio. We want to build an industry here in Greater New Haven, throughout the state, so that we can put people into great paying careers, not just jobs, right? That's how, as Doris said earlier, that's how you close the wealth gap. That's how you deal with social service issues. Half the programs that are out here right now that get money to put Band-Aids on situations probably wouldn't need to exist if people had economic empowerment. So my lifelong ambition, why I live where I live, is because I hope to inspire another young Black or brown child, adult, who walks by my home to say, she still lives here, I can do this too. My role modelship means that I stay where I was planted. I've bloomed where I've been planted. And we can get more into the other pieces later.
Hey, thank you for those great introductions to let you know some of the small things that our panel are doing and some of the great things that our panel is doing. But I really want to talk about this particular topic that's really on my mind this morning, and it's called urban branding. And what I want people to understand about this topic is that based on what the perceptions and the pictures and the different thoughts of a community is, that's where people invest. That's when people congregate. That's where people come to. So how in the work that we all are doing, can we find a way, and especially Jackie, because she's done so much work in marketing, how do we market our community to bring it to a level to where it's acceptable that others and ourselves invest in our own? I think that's a major problem that we're missing. We're always looking for funding from someone else and not within ourselves, and not building infrastructures within ourselves. So everyone go around, give a couple minutes or a minute to what are some of the things that you see that needs to change in our community that's going to make us a stronger community by investing in ourselves and marketing ourselves to where the breaking news is not someone got killed. Why the breaking news is not the girls basketball team won 2 championships in a row and we do a parade for the girls and we do something. Everything in the community is marketed to negativity from the Black part of the community. And how do we change that? And that's the terminology that they use professionally is urban branding. So how do we change the urban branding in our community? I'll start out with Dory.
Well, first of all, I think that we hold our media outlets accountable. I know I've had several meetings with WTNH and other local stations and the newspapers where we say that there's a lot of positive things happening in our community. We want that same kind of coverage. We know that shootings and politics and some of these things that are not so pleasant all the time, not that politics aren't positive, but people focus on the negative. And I think we have to tell our stories. I do see small steps forward where you can hear some positive stories in our community. We are some of the strongest consumers out here. We're buying up everything. So I think some of the things that some of the organizations talk about is support Black businesses. Does not mean that you don't support other businesses, but we want to emphasize that we have to support Black businesses in order for them to stay in business. And a lot of them are the ones that are employing people who need a second chance, people who don't get any other opportunities. And they can support not only their families, but employ others. And so I think we have to really tell the story about, make sure if there's a Black business that you are supporting it. Because our money, we spend the money, Black people spend a whole lot of money. You look at consumer data, we're in there and a lot, especially Black women. And so we need to make sure that we're doing it right in our own neighborhoods, that we're uplifting our neighborhoods, that if we want to hear more positive things, that we have to then own our own papers, maybe some stations. I mean, a lot of that, when Jackie was talking about Tulsa and others in the South, a lot of that was that people were supporting each other. They couldn't even get an article in the paper if they wanted to. They couldn't even do some of these things. So what did they do? They had their own. They owned their own. And therefore, they were supporting their own. And so I'm all about support Black business, tell the positive stories. I will call the news, like we're doing, not now, they don't always show up, but part of it is that if we're doing something positive in the community, if the youth are doing something, I am at least making sure to send out a press release, make sure people know, and then the community has to show up. The community has to support it. And I think that that's one way to really get positive branding out there. Hold people accountable, but also as you're a consumer, make sure you're doing your part to support Black businesses. Open up Black businesses. The NAACP also supported economic equity around helping small businesses get business loans, understand how to make a business plan. And instead of always looking, like you said, for somebody else, here's how you have a business plan. Here's how you can get this done. Here's the right steps so you can sustain your business. Because great, I'm really thrilled about what Gigantic Studios is bringing. But I also think we need to celebrate the small businesses that also can employ people in their community, sit in their community and have that to be a positive experience. So I think that's part of what we can do. And I believe in that.
Great. Robin.
Thank you, Maurice, for that question. And I'll just piggyback off of what Dory's already said, because she really did hit home with that. I think the urban branding piece, and I'll just tell you, like when I walked the district and I was out the other day, and it was really disturbing to me, right? Because aesthetically, it's not pleasing. I think that, it's true. We're always looking outside our community for help. We're always looking for someone to fund us. And I just had this conversation yesterday, the Amsterdam News. Dory, we were talking about, I get silenced. Everybody knows this. And if you don't know it, I'm saying it again publicly, and I'll say it again and again. I get silenced because I'm a truth teller. I believe in standing in my truth. I believe in being an authentic voice for my people, and because our people right, have been disproportionately impacted, disenfranchised, criminalized, marginalized, demonized. We're not welcome at the table. You know, we make folks uncomfortable, but if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. So my goal is to bring forth that growth in people by spurring the truth and spurring those uncomfortable conversations. A lot of things that I say don't make the paper, you know, and the things that do make the paper are the kind of examples that you gave, Mo. You know, we talk about this worker shortage. You know, I'm constantly talking about there's not a worker shortage. There's a wage shortage. You don't want to pay people what they're worth, and I call it plantation politics. You know, this is the kind of policy that we put forward, and I don't want to push back on that. I believe that you should be able to work one job, and one job should be enough. And that one job should give you great health benefits. It should cover you and your entire family, and it shouldn't cost you 2/3 of your paycheck. You know, I believe that when you retire, you should have a good pension. So yes, we must support Black businesses, but also small businesses, because those are the businesses that are getting hurt and harmed the most in this pandemic. And it's really frustrating to me because the associations that claim to represent them and always want to throw them out there, you know, when they're making arguments why we can't raise wages or do this or do that, are the same businesses that, you know, once they get what they want, you know, that trickle down thing that doesn't happen, we're left holding the bag. So I think that we really got to get back to being a village, get back to our culture, get back to our history, get back to that education you talk about, whether it be education or edutainment, and definitely get back to teaching, you know, civics 101, poly 101. Folks, you know, they don't want to be involved with politics. I'm here to tell you that from your birth certificate to your death certificate, it is all political. And all you got to do is take a look at the committees that we chair and sit on up at the State House. There's nothing that we do that it doesn't touch your life. So I think that, you know, it starts at home. We have to invest in our own, and that there are so many resources in this community, in all our communities. I remember growing up, if my grandmother was baking and she needed an egg, I went down the hall to Miss Joyce, or she sent me across the way to Miss Becky to get $20 till she got a check next month. You know, what I don't have, you have. What you don't have, Dory has. What Dory doesn't have, Jackie has. There is no lack in our community. We really have to change our mindset, and we have to get back to being the people that we are originally, right? But we can only do that if we educate, and we got to stop waiting on the system that was designed to devour us to deliver us, because to me, that's delusional. That don't make no sense. We have to take control of our lives. And if we want true prosperity, then we need to understand what it is to be economically free, you know, because when you have money, you don't have to deal with crime. Crime is a derivative of poverty. So if we're going to talk about really addressing crime in our communities, then we must talk about elevating people and bringing people out of poverty, breaking this generational poverty curse. We need to build generational wealth, because you can't pass off, you know, you don't die and get to leave your SNAP benefit card. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get to leave the little nuggets and carrots that they throw us to keep us locked into this system that was designed to devour us. So I say that, you know, we really got to get back to marketing ourselves, marketing our heritage, our royalty, our priesthood, teaching our children how rich our history is. And it's not Black history, people, it's American history.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, Jackie. So Jackie, what we're going to do, we're going to have you talk a little bit about the particular topic that we just talked about, the urban branding, which I know you know much about in marketing. And then we'll let you lead right into the segue of explaining the gigantic studios movement.
I'd like to start by saying this right now in New Haven, we are at such, I don't know if everybody realizes it, but we have Black men running some of the biggest organizations and most impactful organizations for our communities. We have a brother over at Yale New Haven Health. We got Mr. Taylor, Michael Taylor over at Cornell Scott Hill Health Center. We got Titus Kaffer and Jason Price doing what they're doing for the arts community, which is lifting people. You know, listen, a lot of issues that we have in our communities are all centered around mental health sometimes because of the oppression we've suffered so much from. Art is that outlet. The fact that Titus and Jason are here in New Haven and have provided right in the center of our community and are providing an outlet. That means it's priceless. It's priceless. We have Michael coming in wanting to build this industry. We have Eric Clemens, Carlton Highsmith, Paul McCraven. This Concord project on Dixwell Avenue, you talk about how do we do you branding? That's how you do it from the ground up. We have to build it. It's not about marketing it. It will market itself. If that whole reconstruction happens on Lower Dixwell, it's going to start to move up. You see what's happened over at Science Park. At one time you could afford to buy a house on Lower Winchester Avenue for maybe $70-something thousand. Now you're looking at properties at the same house is 300 plus, right? So, and I'm not saying gentrification is a good idea, but what I'm saying is that we can start to reshape and rebuild our spaces, which if we can do that, will market themselves. People will come. I really do believe if you build it, people will come. And the idea that we have so many people of power, of color, Black people, brown people, we owe it to each other to now band together to create that circle so that we can truly wrap around our community. We're hitting this from every angle, legislatively, civil rights, social rights, housing, jobs, careers, health, education, the things that matter. So that's how I believe you brand. I believe the best branding is the organic branding that then you can go out and promote because it's natural and it's real, it's sustainable.
Okay, we're gonna give you a few minutes, but there's one more thing that kind of gets me a little bit, and I need help with this one. Now, I can recall when we were fighting to make sure there was no gun range here on Sherman Avenue, and I was part of that fight for quite some years. At that time, we had Chief Esserman was in power at that time. So now they wanted to relocate. And so one of the suggestions was to bring it out to Branford. And they had one meeting in Branford. 600 residents came out, and you never heard nothing else about that. They put that to rest. They didn't want that around their kids. They didn't want to hear gunfire around their kids, and they came out in droves. How do we start to get the numbers? I can give you some statistics that are appalling. 12% PTA attendance for our own children. 4 out of every 5 African-American children will grow up in non-two-parent homes. The breakdown of the Black family has been the solution or what has been the problem. And we have to find the solution to get our families and, as Robin talked about, that village back together. How do we make the topics that we are all talking about this morning more appealing to our community so that they get involved? We're a pacifying community to where we'll talk about on the side. Me and Robin sit and have a little lunch. We'll talk about this, and me and Dory could talk about this. Me and Jackie, then me and Bernard could talk about this. But where are the numbers? Where's the concern so that people are able to come out and explain how this particular information needs to be shared? What is our information sharing ability? Is it texting? Is it emails? What is going to help the people get the messages that we need to get out so that they can support? That seems like the major disconnect in our community. You'll have some people that'll go over to the Concord when they had the nice little picnic in the back. And so you have a few people there. When Jackie and you guys did the press conference for Gigantic, you had a couple of people there. Why are we not coming out in the masses for the things that are going to make us have strong communities? And that's my question. And then, like I said, we'll go back around the clock. And once we go around the panelists, it'll leave time for Jackie to explain the Gigantic movement. But I want to start with that.
Can I please start with that? And then you can get back to me after?
Yeah.
Because I feel so strongly about this. Robin, Dory, myself, we have all answered how you do that. People aren't going to show up if they're hungry. People aren't going to show up if they have to work 2 jobs. People aren't going to show up if they are depressed because they are going through it, right? We've answered that. We got to empower people. Then they will show up, right? Kids can't do well in school if they're starving or if they didn't sleep last night because there's strife in the family because mom and dad are arguing about money again, right? So that's it. I think it's the most simplistic thing that there ever could be. Why do white communities show up? Because they're not, the majority are not living in poverty. They're not living below they're living above a minimum wage. They're living above double a minimum wage. It's that economic gap.
Absolutely
That's
is.
exactly how I see it.
Absolutely is.
Dory?
I said it absolutely. I agree with everything Jackie said. And that's the message we're trying to drive, that economic power and economic equity gives people a sense of pride, So if people can purchase a home, that gives them a pride. They're going to clean up that street because now they own that. They're going to make sure the kids in that. So it's a trickle down thing. Once people have good jobs, they don't have to worry about that. And they can own their own piece of the American pie and dream, and they can pass that down to their children, then you'll start seeing that some of those barriers will be removed and crime will go down, and people will really, I think, be invested more into their communities, in the education and schools. They're going to make sure those communities thrive. So I think it all comes down to economic power, economic equity, and that gives a sense of power, joy, and pride in the community that you live in. When people don't have to worry about those things, you do see that those communities will flourish.
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Wow. Robin?
I mean, dag, they didn't cover it at all. I mean, because in a nutshell, economic freedom is the great equalizer. You get rid of social justice issues, criminal justice issues, juvenile justice issues, housing issues. We ain't even touched on climate change, but those are some other issues that disproportionately impact Black communities,
Right.
okay? Our children have the highest rates of asthma, et cetera. So I think that, the thing that I will just highlight is, early on, I made this distinction because, what I do is so humbling. Let me just say that. I am tremendously humbled by the work that I do and that I've been given this opportunity. And when I have, little girls, but especially little Black girls, they look at me. I have this one picture that I love in the Capitol. It's a whole group of us. And I didn't realize it until like months after the picture was taken, and it came up in my memories the other day. And this little Black girl is looking back at me with this look in her eyes. And I mean, it literally brings tears to my eyes because I was asked, how do you feel in an interview one time? How does it feel, being a role model? A lot of young girls look up to you, especially Black girls. And I said, well, first of all, I'm not a role model, not a role I'm playing. I'm a real model. And I think that in our community, we have to be real models because we learn through modeling, and no one's perfect, right? So I don't want anyone putting me on a pedestal and making me appear to be bigger or better than anyone. My testimony, my story, I look at these little girls and say, I could have easily been, over there in juvie in Bages. I could have easily been doing time. We all could, given the circumstances and the oppression and the marginalization that our communities, deal us, the hand that we get dealt. I said, but it was by the grace of God. It was by the grace of the village. So in order to have that and have people come out, we have to start with a small nucleus, right? We have big dreams. But what I've also learned, because, I wanted to do things big, you got to scale it back. Start with half a dozen, build out to a dozen. Build out to 24, then you got 100, 1,000, start small, but when you start, if you want a strong community, you start with a strong nucleus. You start with the strength of that community and the people that are serious about doing this work. They are unbought, they are unbossed, and they are unrelenting in their fight for their people and the causes that will lift them out of poverty. Because at the end of the day, we can talk all we want to talk. Until you address poverty, nothing changes. And I'm here to tell you, more police is not the answer. I'm sorry. More police is not the answer. We need opportunities and we need resources in our community that mirror the communities that don't have the issues we have. It's that damn simple. It's not rocket science. So I say, do away with the distractions, turn off the TV, pick up a book, look at a documentary, educate yourself. And educate yourself on the history of this country, because nothing is new under the sun. Everything that we're going through, everything that we're experiencing, our ancestors already experienced this. It's time for us to get the lesson, but we will never get the lesson until we know the lesson, right? Till we know the history that led up to this. So I just say it's all about empowering our people through righteous example, through modeling what real life looks like. And when you fall down, how do you get up? How do you still move forward with dignity and integrity? How do you build character? These are the things that we have to harp on. And when people see us doing these things, I believe they're going to want to know, hey, what are they over there doing? Let me go talk to Robin. Let me go talk to Dory. I'm going to go over there and holler to Miss Buster, because she got something going on over there that look like it might help me build generational wealth versus this generational poverty that the system says we deserve. And we know we deserve more.
Yes. So, Jackie, you have about 6 to 7 minutes elevator speech for the gigantic studios.
Let's talk about jobs. Let's talk about careers. Let's talk about our opportunity. We are right now creating a pre-apprenticeship and an apprenticeship program whereby people can come to us, get paid in both of those tracks to learn a trade. There are 7 different tracks, whether or not your hair and makeup, your styling and wardrobe, whether you're doing electrical, whether or not you're doing scenery, whether or not you're learning the accounting side of how to build a budget for a movie. There are 7 different tracks that people will come to us and go through as a pre-apprentice. At the end of that session, or that 6 months rather, they will then get put into an apprenticeship program that best suits their skill sets. They get paid, this is a 1.5 years we're talking about. They get paid the whole time so that they can accumulate 3,000 hours that it takes to be able to become a member of the union. We all know what a union job is. It's security, it's health benefits, it's great pay. And there's a track for advancement within this structure. Then we have the other jobs. We have our city within the city, which is everything you can imagine. It's accounting, it's HR, it's security, it's IT, it's food service, it's landscaping, it's maintenance, it's everything, it's hospitality. When we talk about, and one of the ladies touched upon this earlier, when we talk about the small businesses, we want to contract out to entrepreneurs within the community around the state to come in and work with us in any of those areas. There's room within that neighborhood for businesses to set up. If you've got over 1,000 people a day coming in and out, if there's a corner store, it's going to get used. If there's a coffee shop, if there's a restaurant, if there's a dry cleaners, whatever service there is anywhere around us or anywhere where our employees are living, those businesses are going to benefit. We're looking also, there's a program that Jay-Z and Will Smith set up in New York within the 5 boroughs through Landis Technologies, whereby they go in and they buy up housing so that people who would gentrify a neighborhood don't have the opportunity to. They buy those properties. People who want to own those homes, they can put them in those homes. They pay rent for 2 years. They go through an educational process whereby they understand what it is to be a homeowner, how to be able to take care of their bills, their responsibilities. At the end of that 2 years, if they're successful, they then own those homes. We are looking to developers right now to mirror that so that people within Fairhaven specifically don't get pushed out. We're also looking to the city to say that we can grandfather in whatever the tax rate is for an extended period of time so that taxes do not go up for existing homeowners. That's important to us, right? After school programs, being able to provide daycare for employees because we work long days, being able to provide transportation to work, and then ongoing education and training in emerging art. We want to become the virtual hub of the world. And with the technology that we're bringing into New Haven, we can do that because we are creating and are partnering with a company to create our own products, whereby people, we will be the exclusive owner of this technology, so people will have to come to us. It's called Gigantic Universe. So we're creating 6 different revenue streams whereby somebody somewhere, anybody anywhere can come and work for us. That's key. It's employee ownership, 51% of the company. That's huge. That means we can never be bought out. That means that's what you call generational wealth. If the company does good, it means the employees did good. They get bonused at the end of the year. What's better than that? Who's not going to do good? You get a big check at the end of the year, and then you have ownership within that business. So those are the things that we're looking to bringing to not just New Haven but to Connecticut, because this is thousands of jobs, which means there's room for a lot of people to be able to shape their destinies and not have a weighted destiny that belonged to somebody else or was imposed upon you on their shoulders. We want people to be able to thrive.
Yes, yes. And the greatest part of it is we have to give credit to Michael Jai White, who made it and is a successful actor and entrepreneur and look to come back to his community to help out. And that so many times doesn't happen in our community. So we don't want that point to go by. So as I told you, time flies. We got about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to close out with the thought that this is just the beginning of a conversation. This particular show that I always want to give thanks to Tom Ficklin. He allows me and Bernard to do once a month, which is called Real Talk. And we bring the real issues that the community has to hear about and need to hear from people who look just like them. The last point I want to end off on is the educational piece, which was tied with the health piece. As many people know, I am a COVID survivor who was in the hospital for 40 days. And what I did not want my community to do is I thank them for all the prayers and the support, but I didn't want us not to sound educated when it came to the vaccine. So I must say I am very disappointed on many of the conversations and many of the myths and things that have been spread through our community. But I'm here and my panelists all back me and my co-host Bernard backs me of saying, when someone gives you an opportunity to save your life through a medicine that has been tested through thousands of individuals, take that and make that happen. Because the main thing is, it's not just about you. It's making the people around you safe and making individuals in your community safe. And may we continue to push that message. But we have a closeout minute for each person. I am so delighted how we started off this dialogue that will continue. We're asking our community to get involved in this dialogue. We need to hear from everyone. But as we close out, everybody has a minute just to closing remarks, and we'll go counterclockwise. We'll start with Dory.
First of all, thank you again. And I think we all need to support what Gigantic Studios is trying to do. I think we need to send this message to more people in our community. I think it's a win-win-win for our community, for our city, for our state, and opportunity. And so I certainly support it. I hope our city will support it. Our officials will support it. I think it just makes sense. It makes perfect sense that this is something we need in our community. So the NAACP certainly can see the benefits, and we support it. When it comes to health equity, that is extremely important. You know, Mo, that I've been on the forefront of really trying to push and encourage our community that health is wealth, that you need to preventative care, awareness, putting yourself, looking at your body as a temple, encouraging more people. I am disappointed and sad as well, but I won't give up. I keep sending the message and I keep talking about how important it is that we stay on top of our health, that we have access to the best doctors, and that we take advantage of that, and that, there's more coverage, there's more opportunities. I've advocated even from day one with COVID that, how I felt like they needed to support our community. I feel like that we forced the cities and the hospitals and others to really get out there and go to the people. Don't wait for the people to come to you, get in our community. And I think they've done that. Now it's our job to get people to actually take advantage of it so that we can be healthy. There's a lot of young people, and I don't understand it because I'm past that young age, but I don't understand their reasoning why they don't do it. But what I agree with you, like, if you do it for your family, do it for the children who can't get vaccine, do it for the elders, do it. If you can't find reasons for yourself, then do it for the people you love, your community. So health is wealth. Let's keep pushing that forward and hope that more people take advantage of being healthier as we move forward in our community.
Thank you, Dory. Quickly, Robin, you got about 20, 30 seconds.
20, 30 seconds. Okay. Well, I will say that, I am definitely about supporting Gigantic Studios. I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to have Jackie on with us to kind of debunk the myths and uplift the facts and tell the truth about, the operation and what the mission and the vision of Gigantic is. We started out talking about building strong communities. That's how you do it. You hit the head on the nail on the head, Mo, when you said, and I said it out there at the press conference. A lot of times, we talk about, we make it out of the hood, right? We make it out and we don't come back to lift anyone up. What they are doing with Gigantic Studios is lifting as they climb. And I salute our brother Michael for coming back and doing what he is doing in this community. And I salute Jackie and all of the team at Gigantic for what they're bringing in the way of building stronger communities and bringing economic freedom, which will give us generational wealth, lifting us out of poverty. So please spread the word. And if you have any questions, anyone on this panel can help you to understand or better understand what Gigantic mission and vision is. And just thank you, Maurice and Bernard, for having us this morning. It has truly been a pleasure to have this conversation. And I look forward to the next conversation.
We have to wrap up, but we thank everyone. This was a very robust discussion, but it will not be the end. It's just the beginning. So stay in tune to our Real Talk show, which is usually once a month, and we'll give out the advertisements on how you can be involved. Everybody have a wonderful Friday and keep building strong communities.
Thank you.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'm gonna roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. I'm never gonna give up, fall down.